What would you do if you came home early and found your backyard taken over by strangers, not just any strangers, but your neighbor, the self-proclaimed HOA queen, hosting a full-blown party in your pool? Without asking, this isn't a sitcom. This happened to me. And what followed wasn't just about trespassing, it was about power, race, and knowing exactly when to let the dogs out. This is the story of how I took my home and my dignity back. I came home early that Thursday. Nothing dramatic. Just a good mood, a craving for pad thai, and a plan to surprise my wife. I pulled into my street expecting silence, the kind of stillness you earn after a long day. But as I turned the corner, I hit the first red flag cars. Everywhere. Parked on curbs, driveways, even my lawn. I slowed down, confused. Then I saw the balloons, tied to my mailbox. Bright blue, festive. That was flag number 2. Flag number 3. My side gate was wide open. Wide open. Then came the music. Loud, bass-heavy pop blaring from behind my house. My house? I cut the engine and just sat there for a second. Pulse ticking. Confused. Then irritated. Then a slow, dawning sense of disbelief. I got out and walked toward the backyard. I didn't run. I wanted to believe this was a mistake. Maybe a neighbor's party had overflowed by accident. But when I rounded the corner and stepped into my own backyard, I froze. There were at least 20 people. In my pool. On my lawn. Beer pong table by the grill. Kids splashing. Adults shouting. Someone had lit the tiki torches I hadn't touched in months. The place looked like a 4th of July block party, except I hadn't planned one. And this was my house. At the center of it all was Karen, HOA president, 50-something. Platinum blonde with that default suburban scowl she wore like armor. She was lounging poolside in my wife's robe, beer in hand, like she owned the place. When she saw me, she smiled and said, "Hey, you're home early," as if she had just borrowed sugar. I couldn't even speak. She walked toward me casually. "Just a little gathering. HOA welcome party. We'll clean up. I'm not in the HOA." I said flatly. She shrugged. "Well, you're part of the neighborhood. We thought we'd include you." I wasn't angry yet. I was stunned. "You broke into my house. You're trespassing." She laughed. "Oh, please, don't be dramatic. It's not like we trashed the place. You people always get so worked up." And there it was. I clenched my jaw. Took a breath. I could have exploded right there. Could have started shouting. Could have called the cops and made a scene. But instead, I turned and walked inside, into the laundry room, and opened the door to let out my dogs, Shadow and Tank. 2 Rottweilers, trained, loyal, quiet until told otherwise. I didn't have to say a word. They saw the open gate, smelled the strangers, and took off tails up, focused, silent. The scream that followed was operatic. I walked back outside just in time to see chaos. People running. Someone tripped over a cooler. Karen bolted from the pool, robe flying, soaked and shouting. Drinks spilled. Kids screamed. One guy tried to climb the fence and failed. My dogs didn't bite. They didn't growl. They just moved like shadows, clearing the backyard in less than a minute. I stood there, arms crossed, not smiling, not gloating, just present. Karen yelled something about calling the police. I said, "Please do." She left barefoot, dripping wet, muttering threats. By the time the sun set, my backyard was empty. That night, I watched the security footage, every minute, from the gate being opened, to Karen letting herself in with a bobby pin, to guests helping themselves to the fridge in my outdoor kitchen. Even one guy opening my cooler and saying, "Man, he's got good beer." The next morning, I got 3 emails from the HOA. Karen had filed a complaint. According to her, I had threatened her guests, used animals to intimidate, created a racially hostile environment. Her words. It would have been laughable if it hadn't been so gross. Luckily, I had footage and a lawyer. We filed a formal complaint for trespassing, harassment, and theft. My lawyer also prepared a cease and desist. Karen had been attempting to extend the HOA's jurisdiction to my property through a motion filed without my knowledge. Fraud. In plain language. Then, a man knocked on my door 2 days later, said he was performing an HOA compliance inspection. I asked him what gave him the right. He mumbled something about a new inclusion ordinance. I asked for paperwork. He didn't have any. He left quickly after I mentioned my attorney's name. I could have kept this quiet, handled it through back channels, but I didn't. I uploaded the video to the neighborhood Facebook group. No edits, no music, just raw footage titled Karen's HOA pool party at my house. It blew up. Hundreds of comments. Shock. Outrage. People who had thought Karen was strict but fair suddenly saw her in a different light. Some admitted they'd been intimidated by her for years. A few current board members apologized privately and promised action. The kicker came from inside her own camp. One of the party guests filed a formal complaint against Karen, claimed she had lied about the event being approved, said she felt emotionally manipulated into attending something illegal. She even mentioned being traumatized by dogs. Though I took that one with a grain of salt. Still, the damage was done. Karen stepped down within the week. The email announcing her resignation was cold and sterile. No apology. Just a line about refocusing her priorities. Some neighbors asked if I planned to sue. I said no. I got my piece. That's all I ever wanted. Karen still lives next door. She doesn't speak. Keeps to herself. A new woman took over her role in the HOA. Someone quieter. More reasonable. I keep the footage in a private drive. Not because I want to relive it, but because sometimes proof is power, and silence, when you've earned it, is the sweetest sound of all. Was I the bad guy for letting my dogs out? Some think so, but I didn't make threats, didn't hurt anyone. I protected my space, my home, the way I see it. If you throw a party in someone else's backyard, wear their wife's robe, drink their beer, and invite 20 strangers to use their pool, you don't get to cry victim when the homeowner comes home early. You just get what you get.